The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Cynthia Chaplin, and this is Voices. Every Wednesday, I will be sharing conversations with international wine industry professionals, discussing issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion through their personal experiences working in the field of wine. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your pods. Welcome to Voices. This is me, Cynthia Chaplin, and today I'm delighted to welcome Marija Mrgudić to Voices. Marija hails from the Pelješac Peninsula on the Dalmatian coast in Croatia, where she co-owns Bura-Mrgudić Winery with her brother Nico Bura. And she grew up working in her family's vineyards when the grapes were handed over to the cooperative winery in her village Potomje. But her father died when she was 11, and that's when she decided to become a winemaker all on her own. And she credits her mother and her grandmother for encouraging her at a time when men held all the power in Croatia. So I'm fascinated to hear your story, Mari. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Well, we know that women in Croatia have always been involved in winemaking historically. Croatia's been a winemaking region for thousands of years, but it's only recently that women's influence has become more recognized. And I just wonder, what was it like for you as a young woman winemaker in the early days without your father? You know, were the men in the wine sector welcoming and supportive? What was it like when you began?
Oh, of course, the traditional way of life in small village, Dalmatian village, Potomje, where I was born, was very patriarchal in the time when I was growing up, of course. We say that women hold the three walls of the house, but men sit on the top of the table. My father died when I was 11 and my brother 13. So we grow up with mother as head of family and estate. Our grandmother also became a widow at a young age, so she was also there all the time in the home. All of that impact me and my choice a lot.
I can imagine it must have been, not that easy.
Yeah, when I was young, my family lived just from our vineyards. And in the time of socialism, there was no private winemaking.
Of course not. I think people forget that now. It's not that long ago.
It's not long. My whole childhood was in socialism. The grapes were handed to cooperative winery for over 500 families in our village and the village near. And we could make only small amounts of wine for us and at home. There was no possible way to get out on the market with our own wine. There was only cooperative pay the grapes reasonable price in the reasonable time. It was all pre-dealt. There was no free market because there was no free market.
That's right. And I'm sure it impacted the quality of the winemaking too.
Yeah. And I got into private winemaking in 1995, right away when democracy and open market come to Croatia. And I was very young and motivated at the time, and I had to confront with a lot of changes, but also my male colleagues also had to confront some changes because it's all new for all of us. And in that time, there is no rivalry between us. Sometimes say me as young and immature, but I never had any difficulties with them because I was a woman. I got a lot of respect from them, even though I was the only woman in the winemaking in our region at the time. There was no problem.
That's incredible. You were the only one.
Yeah, I was the only one in that time. There was that time when we started the private winemaking.
Wow, in 1995. So how many winemakers were there in your area, including you?
That time was around 10. We finished with the cooperative and started on winery because the cooperative has 500 cooperators, families.
Right. Were the 10 of you close? Did you help each other? How did it work at the beginning?
Yeah, there was a difficult time because there was all new for us, new market. Our cellar, there was no full of the equipment. We helped each other in that time.
It's such a strong story. I just need to point out that's not even 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's around 25 years.
Yeah, and I think you and I are of a similar age, but I know, certainly my children never experienced that time. And it's interesting how people just tend to forget. And so you were so lucky the 10 of you had each other and you were able to grow the wine business. I know that you've also credited another woman as being an important role model for you, and her name was Andelka Ancic. Can you tell us how she influenced your growth in the wine sector?
Yeah, our dear late Andelka Ancic came to our village Potomje in the late 60s. She came in the really patriarchal village and we went as a young enologist to work at the cooperative winery. And with her work, humanity, and knowledge, she got the trust of all men in management as well as mostly men in cooperatives of the winery.
That's incredible, all by herself.
Yeah, very young in that very patriarchal village. They called her Mother of Dingac. And I grow up watching her work and that also impact of my choice later in life. And in my life, to me, it was normal to stand up with my knowledge and work in all men business because I'm looking how she doing that.
I think you had to be tough in those days.
Yeah.
And strong and probably very brave as well, because when your family is depending on you, it puts much more responsibility on you.
Yes, that was. But there was different times, different growing up, different than today.
Of course. Yeah. How's it going today? Are there more women in wine in Croatia now? Do you have groups of women winemaker who you can depend on and share your knowledge with?
There are mostly men winemakers, but there is a lot of women who has winery, who enologists and work in that industry. And we have the association Women on Wine in Croatia, founded in 2011 by Sanja Muzaferia.
Ah, right. Yes, of course. She does a lot of things with wine.
Yes, she's very active in that. And throughout that organization, the women exchange knowledge, experience, and support each other. And they organize a lot of activity for women in wine throughout the year.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, for fascinating videos covering Stevie Kim and her travels across Italy and beyond, meeting winemakers, eating local foods, and taking in the scenery. Now, back to the show.
Oh, that's great to know. That's good. How many women take part? How many participate?
I don't know now. I'm the member, of course, because I am on the first day member. But I don't know now. But there is one at the association, the main association in Zagreb. And we have one in Split, in Rijeka. There is a lot of women all over the Croatia.
That's so good. That's such a positive development in such a short period of time. That's great.
More than 20 to 50, I think, in every organization.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really great. In a very, very short period of time. It shows how devoted women are to wine and winemaking in Croatia. That's great news. I know your winery has become truly a family business. It has always been in your family. And now you work with your brother and your children. What's it like these days working all together? Life is going a lot better for you now. I know your winery is doing very well. So who makes the decisions and who's the leader? What's it like working with the family? Do you see your children working there in the future?
Our winery, as you say, is a family business. And when I starting, my brother joined me as soon as he finished his maritime career. My children are also there. My son Boris is doing the core business with the sales and marketing. My daughter Antonia is enologist and she is taking care of the winemaking process. And my third youngest daughter, Lucia, is also helping with marketing. And children of my brother also helping in the winery when they are at home in Potomje, because daughter is painting and she lives in Barcelona, and son is sailors and she lives in Dubrovnik. But they came on the harvest time and summer, and they helping us when he is at home.
I think there's something really special when you can pass on to your children that connection to a family vineyard the way that you have done. I'm wondering about Antonia. She's an enologist now, you said. Did she study in Croatia?
Yes, she studied. Two of my daughter and son, Boris and Antonia, they finish high school in America, in US, and they came here and finished college. Antonia, agronomy in Zagreb, and Boris, American College of Management in Dubrovnik. And Lucia is a journalist. She finished college in Zagreb for journalism.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love to hear the story that you've got another generation coming along behind you to pick up the reins when you're ready to hand over. Your winery, Bura-Mrgudić, is considered one of the top artisan wineries in Croatia. So I think we have to talk about the winery a bit here now. How many hectares have you got, and how many wines are you producing? How many bottles a year?
We are boutique winery and we have around 8 hectares of vineyards.
So really small, 8.
It's small, but it's big for us. And we produce 40 to 50,000 bottles of wine. Most of our vineyards are on the steep hills of Dingač and Postup. And we also have some vineyards in inland of Pelješac or Peninsula.
Yeah, well, where you are, it is so steep. I've seen photographs of your crew vineyards, Dingač and Postup, and it's like heroic winery that we have here in Italy. Everything has to be done by hand, in Liguria and Mount Etna and places like that. How long is your growing season there? How many people work with you in the vineyards and help with the harvest? Because it has to be done by hand. You can't get tractors up those steep hills.
Like some part in Italy, you saw heroic vineyards in Italy. We have also heroic vineyards in Pelješac Peninsula in Dalmatia. That is Dingač and Postup, which is very steep hills and soil full of stones and sand. And on that position, we can use the mechanical or electronics. Everything we done manually. With that, time of work is longer and we need more people to work in our vineyard. We have 3 employers that work for us all year, along with all of us in family, of course. During the spring work, we usually have additional 6, and in harvest season, 10 people. To keep our wine healthy and sustainable during the whole year, we need to work in them all year long.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys of being an artisan winemaker. You take good care of the vineyard and the land, not just the grapes. You have to take care of everything. I know you're farming organically now. Was that the choice you made?
Our motto is wine is made in vineyards, so we put as much effort as we can into our vineyards.
I so agree with that. If you make a mistake in the vineyard, it can't be corrected in the cellar. I think you're absolutely right there. And I know you're farming organically now. Was that a choice that you made, or was it a tradition that you followed? How important is organic winemaking in Croatia now?
Our vineyard position gives us the possibility to work in an eco and sustainable way. It is not just that we want to make wine in eco way and we go that way. Dingač and Postup have slopes 40 to 60 degrees, steep towards the sea, sandy soil and triple insulation. So we cannot work there but in the eco way. Because of all that, in that position, we don't use any pesticide or herbicide, and everything is done manually. Our traditional is to respect and to live with nature, and that is the core of our business.
Well, I think that's so important now. When we talk about marketing, are you selling mostly in Croatia or are you exporting at all?
We export about half of our production, mostly in the US and European Union. We have been in the US market for 20 years already.
Wow, you got in there really early.
Yeah. Rest of our wines we sell inland in Croatia. We are a small winery and we don't have the capacity to be on the shelves of supermarkets. So most of our wine are sold in restaurants, wine bars, and wine shops.
Well, it's amazing because nowadays young people who are new to wine, just coming into wine for the first time, they really want to know how their grapes are grown. They want things to be organic and sustainable. So having that philosophy of taking care of your vineyard is so important in terms of attracting new people, getting people involved with what you're doing. So it's exciting to hear that you are keeping up those traditions. Of course, as you said, it's so steep in some places you can't do anything else. You have to do it by hand. But it's nice to hear that, the importance of it is more than just a label on a bottle. It's something that is so meaningful to you. And I want to talk a little bit about the wines that you're making.
We live with that.
Yeah, exactly. You live here. You want it to be right. Exactly. And it's your family vineyard. You don't want pesticides and chemicals. I completely agree with that. But let's talk a little bit about the wines, because I am ashamed to admit that I know very little about Croatian wines, only the ones that are related to Zinfandel, and we'll get to that. But I think most of my listeners will be fascinated to hear what you're doing. So I know Dingac was the first vineyard to be protected as a DOCG back in 1961 by the Yugoslavian government back then. But ultimately, it became the first red wine in the region, to be called a premium red wine. So tell us about the grape and the wines that you're making there.
Dingac is a remarkable position with all of steep hills, soil, and Isolace has the perfect condition for Plavac Mali. 100% of vineyards there are Plavac Mali, and our centers understood that a long time ago. Dingac was, as you said, first protected as a DOCG in ex-Yugoslavia back in 1961. And I'm not sure, but I think that it was even protected before Chianti in Tuscany. I'm not sure.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And my family had luck to inherit those positions. We now produce wine, red full body wine with strong alcohol and an amazing dark ruby color. That is a few words of wine.
Well, I love Croatia. I've had a couple of wonderful visits in Croatia, and now I'm going to have to come and see you and really get involved with the winemaking scene there. But you mentioned it, Plavac Mali. That's the grape that is an offspring of Kryljanak, which is Zinfandel in the US and Primitivo in Puglia. So this is a grape that's near and dear to my heart because it has such an interesting story of traveling around the world. And we know that this is a grape that loves being hot, and it's very expressive of its terroir all over the world. It grows in different places. So you said your wines are big and powerful with this lovely, famous, well-traveled grape. How many wines do you make from Plavac Mali? Different labels.
Plavac Mali is definitely the most important variety, Dalmatian, of course, in Pelješac. And we do the two labels of the Dingac and Postup. And we do the Plavac, which is inland, the wine from inland. And we do one cuvée Galeria. And the second label, Marica, also Plavac, 100% of Plavac.
So you're doing all different things with oak and with wood and...
Yeah, 6 different variety from the first, second, and the basic wine. And we do the dessert wine from the Prošek, from the white grapes, Rukatac, and from the Plavac Mali red Prošek. We have 2.
And how are you making your sweet wines? Are you doing them botrytis style or pasito style?
Traditional prošek is only traditional style of way. We picking and drying on the sun, maybe 15 to 13 days. We drying the grape and after that crushing and put on a big glass bottle to fermenting slowly 3 to 5 years. It's a traditional way.
Wow. So I'm just going to remind people who are listening, yeah, only 8 hectares, and you're making a lot of different styles of wine. This is a lot of work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but but we take the position for the labels. The position give us the different wine.
Well, this is exciting. So I know winemaking in Croatia in general has just kind of blown up in the past 20 years. What do you think have been the most important changes? Where do you see the Croatian wine industry going in the next, 5 or 10 years?
Croatian winemaking got the new wave back in the 19th. When we opened the market, wine scene was developing very fast to catch up with the rest of Europe.
It's weird, isn't it? Because Croatia was making wine before a lot of other parts of Europe, but they're so far ahead in marketing and technique.
Yes, but on our road we had a lot of bumps, good ones and bad ones. Generally speaking, winemaking has developed much faster than structural and legal regulation.
I think that's always the way.
Now we came to the phase where winemaking is development and our vineyards don't have any security or regulation. A lot of people have vineyards and they don't produce their own wine. And they don't have the security when selling their grapes to bigger winery. And I believe that if our regulations stay the same, that both the bigger wineries, smaller wineries, they sell their grapes will be in problem in the few years.
That's really interesting. That's very interesting to hear you say that. I agree with you. I think when winemakers can make their own wine, right in the vineyards where they're growing it, I always do think that there is something on a quality level that's going to be better. So I agree, but I didn't realize this is something that was really affecting Croatian wine. That's very interesting to hear you say that. Do you think that people will start making their wine more often or keep selling the grapes?
I think, unfortunately, keeps sells the vineyards.
Is it just economically better, easier?
Easier, yeah.
Well, I think, easy isn't always the best way. So I'm glad to hear that you are being a champion of artisan winemaking and boutique winery with these very important grapes in such a special and ancient area and benefiting from all the changes that have happened in the past 25 years. I read a quote from you that I really liked. You said, "A truly fulfilled and successful woman is someone who defines success on her own terms, based on what brings happiness and satisfaction to both herself and those closest to her." I thought that was really so meaningful. How does this philosophy guide you in your work? What's your advice to young women in Croatia who want to be in the wine world now?
Of course, my philosophy through life was that successful and happiness is something that gives satisfaction to me and my family. To be happy and satisfied, we need to be ourselves. That is not always easy, but if I trust in myself, I believe I can make it.
I agree. Let me ask you a personal question. Does it still give you a thrill to see your wine bottles being sold in wine shops? What's your favorite wine that you make?
I always tell all my wine is like my children, all is my favorite. In any situation, when you sit on stall, in any situation, when you sitting and drinking on a table every day, you can drink the bigger wine like Dingac and Postup or like dessert wine. You can drink something easy to drink by basic or second label. But if you celebrating and have a special dinner, you take the first label or if you on the dessert wine is the time for the sweets and all wine is like my children, all is the best, my wine.
Exactly. And some days you like the company of one of them more than another. At Christmas time, we went sweet wine too. So that's really nice.
Here in Croatia is also in our village and my family in Christmas times the sweet wine prosek and the mantala. That is one very old traditional cake what we made with the must.
Oh wow, with the grape skins.
Yeah, with the must.
Amazing. Well, let me ask you a question. I am very interested in rosé wines, particularly Italian rosé wines, which is my specialty. Do you make a rosé wine?
We made last year, we start with the rosé wine. With the rosé wine, Zinfandel rosé.
Fantastic. With the Plavic Mali?
No, Zinfandel.
Oh, with...
You know that the Marija Mrgudić, who died a few days ago, in 2000, we got recognized the Plavic Mali genetically the son of Zinfandel or Primitivo or Cirliena.
Yes.
And here in Dalmatia, after Phylloxera, Cirliena vanished from Dalmatia and Plavic Mali came as a more resistant variety. After the recognition of the connection of Plavic Mali and Zin, a lot of people start planting new vineyards of Cirliena or Zinfandel or Primitivo.
Where are you getting your rootstock for Zinfandel or Primitivo?
And back in 2007, I started with a business partner, American businessman, Bob Belmoshe and his family. Bob was a big wine enthusiast, especially for Dalmatian red wine, and they came here and they buy the house in Dubrovnik and want to invest to the vineyards, and he likes my wine, and he want to bring Zinfandel back home to Croatia, and we decide to plant vineyards on Pelješac.
That's incredible. So he brought Zinfandel rootstock back from America to Croatia?
He want to bring the Zinfandel, and we are the first one to bring and plant original California Zinfandel in vineyard in Croatia.
That's like going full circle. Zinfandel started in Croatia, went all the way to America, and now you've brought it back. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. Now, more than 15 years later, Belmoshe family and our family make together both Zinfandel and English wine under the Belmoshe family wine label. And last year, we know that Zinfandel in America start like white and rosé wine as like a basic wine. And we last year start with the rosé Zinfandel. But not big addition, but we start with the rosé.
I'm going to have to find this wine and taste it.
Yeah, and that is in addition of our normal Zinfandel. That is not so special, but addition we do the rosé.
That's great. Oh, I'm so glad I asked you that question. I have to be fair and tell our listeners I hadn't put that on my little list of things I was going to ask you. So thank you for telling me about that.
And also on the end, thank you for to be your guest. And I would like to wish everyone Merry Christmas and successful New Year to all of your listeners.
That is great. Well, thank you so much, Marija. I can't thank you enough for this really fun conversation. I've learned so much about women in Croatia and the winemaking industry. It sounds positive. It sounds like things are going forward in a really beneficial way. And I'm excited to learn more about Croatian wine myself. So thank you so much. I wish you a huge Happy New Year.
Thank you. And I hope that one day you came to Pelješac to see me and my winery.
Thank you. Yes. Peace and good wine to all my listeners.
You're always welcome.
I'm booking my trip now. Thank you for listening, and remember to tune in next Wednesday when I'll be chatting with another fascinating guest. Italian Wine Podcast is among the leading wine podcasts in the world and the only one with a daily show. Tune in every day and discover all our different shows. You can find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Himalaya, or wherever you get your pods.